Hi, I'm Nick Rodriguez with the Squid Ink service team, and today we're going to talk about purging your CoPilot Gemini printhead. A few things that you're going to need before we do this. You're going to want to have some lint-free wipes, a catch beaker, and a pair of gloves. So before we get started, let's discuss the different types of purging that can be done for the Gemini. What we have is something that we call like the basic purge, right? Is when we're just going to go ahead and utilize that purge button and the print engine isolator valves at the back of the printhead to purge ink out of the front of the printhead. That's a basic everyday kind of a purge. Now, a secondary purge, a purge that we'll call the priming purge, will involve the drain tubes at the back of the printhead. And that'll be for something if you're putting in a new cartridge or something like that, or if you suspect there to be any air in your system. So let's go ahead and cover what both of those look like and show you what you need and how to do that. So the longer purge of the two is going to be our priming purge. And I want to show you that first because it is a two-step process. The first step when you're doing the priming purge is going to utilize the drain tubes at the back of the printhead to push out any air or anything else that's in the system. You do this purge if you suspect that you're seeing loss of print quality, or if you've had this sitting for a long time, or if the print engine or the ink cartridge was removed while the unit was printing where it could actually draw in some air. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. So before we begin, what you're going to want to do is have something at the front of the printhead to catch any residual ink that may come from the two engines. Typically what I'll do is I'll fold up a lint-free wipe and just kind of place it at the bottom of the printhead like this. This will help catch anything out, and then at the end of the process we can use this wipe to clean the surface of the printhead. So once we have that settled, we're going to go ahead and go to the back of the printhead with our catch beaker. Let's take a look at what we've got at the back of the printhead before we get started here. So at the very top of our head, this is our purge button. Okay, so this is going to be the button that we press to activate the motors inside of the printhead that will go ahead and expel the ink. Now, if we follow the line going down here, these two buttons here are actually isolator valves. Now, what their job is to do is to isolate the print engines while we're doing the purge. Now, this very first step that we're going to do isn't going to utilize them, but we'll explain what we need them for when we go out the front. This first step is just going to be the purge button and then out each one of these drain tubes individually. So a rule of thumb here is when you're looking at it from the back of the printhead, you're going to see pH1 and pH2, right? pH1 is going to be the very top printhead, very top print engine at the front of the printhead. So this is where I like to start. I like to start my purging process here. So again, this is the priming purge. We're going to go ahead and open up drain tube for printhead 1. This, make sure the tether's there. There we go. I've got my drain tube in my beaker, and then I'm just going to use my other free hand here and press and hold on the purge button. Now what we're looking for is to expel any ink or any air is what I'm looking for. And air will show up as like chunks sometimes. It kind of looks like chunks. The air bubbles in ink are very hard to identify. So right here what we're seeing is a pretty, there you go, some good air. Awesome. So again, we're getting all that air out of the system. What we're looking at now is a pretty steady stream. That little dribble's okay. Now we're gonna, what I like to do is kind of hold it, and if I get about 5-6 seconds of steady stream like this, then I'm gonna call it good. I release the purge button, and with that, I'll go ahead and cap this off, like so. All right, so since we've already completed the printhead 1 side, we're gonna go ahead and do the same process out of printhead 2. So again, we start off by removing the tethered cap from our drain tube here, and we're just going to go ahead and position it into our beaker and press and hold on the purge button there. And keep in mind that we're just watching for a steady stream flow of ink coming out of that drain tube. A couple of hiccups here and there are okay, so that's fine. What you may notice is that you may have gotten most of the air out of the system from printhead 1. So second side, you may just see a good steady stream right out of the bat, but there may be some residual air, so you want to give it some time. Usually what I do is if I see a good stream for about 5-6 seconds in a row like this, I'm going to go ahead and just release that stepper or that purge button and call it good. So now we'll go ahead and cap it and get ready to do our second set or our second phase of the prime. So the next step we're going to do is basically what we call the basic purge, right? And that is just expelling the ink out of the front of the printhead. The first half that we did is necessary if you need to do a priming purge, which helps eliminate any air or anything like that in the system. Now this step is more to make sure that we filled all of the channels in our printheads with ink and that there's no air sitting in those channels. So with that, what we're going to utilize is, again, the purge button at the back of the printhead and then the print engine isolators, and I'll show you how to use those. But the idea is to go ahead and prime from the bottom printhead up to the top. We want to push the air up through the system and out. So again, we go from the bottom printhead to the top printhead, and I'll show you the sequence of how to do that from the back of the printhead real quick. So to go ahead and prime out the front of the print engines, what we're going to need to do is activate the purge button here, and again, that purge button activates the motors and the ink system to go ahead and start pushing ink. So that's what we're going to use. But in order to isolate the print engines so that we don't use too much ink and we get maximum effect out of it, we're going to have to utilize these two isolator valves as well. So it requires pushing the purge button and activating one of these valves. Now let's go ahead and take a look at what these mean. So you'll see that each printhead, printhead 1 and printhead 2, has its own valve underneath it. What we want to do is, if we're going to want to expel all the ink out of printhead 2 and nothing out of printhead 1, we're going to push the valve under printhead 2. This will cut off flow of ink to print engine 1 at the top. So basically you're going to want to push that down and push the purge button down at the same time, like so. I'm going to get like this, push down and down. Like that. So now taking a look at how the flow looks like at the front of the print engine after activating that printhead 1 or printhead 2 isolator and that purge button. You can see that now I'm only getting flow from that bottom print engine. Nothing's coming out of the top right now. And that's a pretty good flow, right? You want to watch and see that all the ink goes up to the top of the print engine. Once you see that, you can go ahead and release. Now I'm keeping my finger down on the isolator just to make sure that the steppers finish their step within this circuit. We're going to follow the same steps now for printhead 1 up at the top. I'll take my rag here and just give it a wipe. Get as much of that ink as I can out of the way. I'll fold it, place it under engine 1, and using the isolator under the PH1 slot and the purge button, we're going to go ahead and see the flow come out of the top engine now. And there you go. You may see some of what looks like a little bit of a chunk coming out of that ink there. Those are air bubbles, just like that. And that's what we want to do. We want to go ahead and expel all that out of that print engine. Once you see it gone, pretty steady right now, I'm going to go ahead and release. And once that's released, I can go ahead and clean up my printhead a little bit. So now that we've completed our purge out the front of the printhead, our basic purge, we can wipe this down and get it ready for a print test. Now it's important to get as much of that ink off the face of it as possible so that we don't get any smearing or anything like that on our product while we're printing. So what I like to do is just kind of start from the bottom and wipe up. Now you want to be careful and try not to rub in the print engine recesses. And when you do wipe, you want to wipe in one direction only, without going back and forth. This way you decrease the amount of friction. So we've completed our purges here. We're going to go ahead and take a look at what the print quality looks like real quick by moving the box through here. I'm going to flick my, my conveyor on here and let's watch it. So again, just to reiterate, your basic purge with the CoPilot Gemini is going to be to go ahead and push your ink, your fluids out the front of the print engines at the face of the print head, using the print engine isolators at the back of the print head. Your priming purge is going to be that step, but with one added before that, which is to go ahead and get as much of the air out of the system out of the back of the print head using the drain tubes. So really, in all reality, your day-to-day purge will just be going out the front of the print engines, but if you ever see fading print or something like that, or suspect air got in your system, you're going to want to open up the drain tubes, purge out the back before you go out the front, and that'll ensure a higher rate of success for you. Again, I'm Nick Rodriguez with the Squid Ink service team. I hope you found this video helpful. If you want to find more videos like this, go ahead and search for us on YouTube or elsewhere on the web. See ya.